Hello, hello, welcome in. Let's see, are we live? Oh yes, we are live. Great. Well, like I said, welcome in and thanks for watching. I am my name's Jake, and you're watching the Vaults of Yesteryear, our Friday night chat stream. So I'm happy to have everybody coming in today, and we got a few things to talk about and chit chat a little bit about role playing games and just general gaming altogether, right? So I've had a pretty good week and looking forward to a good weekend of gaming. We've got our in-person group meeting tomorrow, so looking forward to doing that. We're jumping into some Forbidden Lands, and hopefully we'll have a good time at that, right? So that's that's kind of what I've got going on. I've been doing some solo stuff this week. I've been trialing out some 5 parsecs from home, and that kind of ties in a little bit to what we're going to be talking about tonight as far as Titancraft, which is a new competitor for Heroforge for creating miniatures. So yeah, I was doing some 5 parsecs from home. I got a crew set up and about to jump on first mission of that, and then also been playing some Tales of Argosa, which is a D20 solo. It's not specifically solo game, but that's what I'm doing, and it's been pretty fun. So let's see. Yeah, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to jump into one bit of news, and then into Titancraft in general. So hopefully you guys have got some gaming coming up this weekend. I know several of you do because you're in my group. But anyway, that's what's happening. And I just want to say thank you for jumping in. If you've been a subscriber for a little while, since I started this back in the end of December, and if you've been joining me and enjoying what we've got going on, then thank you for being a part of the audience, and hopefully you're enjoying everything. So let's first jump over here and talk about. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I got an email earlier this week where Cubicle 7 has released for pre-order a new supplement called the Temple of Spite. And this is all about the Dark Eldar. And Dark Eldar, we're not in 40K, it's the Dark Elves. And it's not necessarily a source book on their realm of Nagaroth, which is in across the ocean. This is more about one specific black arc, which is pretty cool. I don't know if any of you ever remember playing the original the first Warhammer multiplayer MMO game. I cannot remember the name of it. Maybe it was Warhammer Online. I can't remember. But regardless, I remember starting a character on that as a dark elf, and you started on a black arc, which was pretty cool. But that game's long gone, but it was pretty fun while it lasted, right? But anyway, so they have released this, and it is a source book for that. I'm sure that they're probably going to do a campaign book. Well, maybe kind of like they did for the dwarves and the high elves. But let's see what they say here. A Black Ark, Titanic war vessel, the Dark Elves, and its crew of corsairs and other monstrosities. It says the Temple of Spite is a vast redoubt captained by the notorious corsair Duriath Hellbane, and is capable of striking at any coastal settlement. Wherever it goes, death and despoliation follow. Despoliation, yes. This book describes the Black Ark and presents ideas for how to escape its confines, or for the truly heroic endeavor to scupper the ship. Such feats will not be easy, for the Ark is home to numerous regiments of dark elves and all their machinery of war. These factions could either be encountered on board the Temple of Spite or somewhere in the wider world pursuing the agenda of the Dread King. So in true Games Workshop fashion, when I first read this, this first paragraph up here, it talks about their Dread King Malarian here, and it confused me, but I forgot his name used to be Malekith, right? And I get because GW loves to trademark everything under the sun, they changed it to Malarian so that they could trademark his name, of course. So, and I think they've started calling the Dark Elves some Druchii or something like that. I can't remember. It's ridiculous, but it's good to see them refer to them as Dark Elves here. But anyway, this looks pretty interesting. It gives several different factions there on the Black Ark. That sound pretty interesting. Glassthorn, Spies and Saboteurs, Cain's Eyes. It's all pretty. It's all pretty. Fitting for the Dark Elf theme and all that. And I will say that this is cool. I'm sure the completionist that I am, I'll probably pick this up. But I am a little bit disappointed that we did not really kind of complete the old world before kind of moving elsewhere. A lot of the supplements for Warhammer, they had in various supplements, like in the Enemy Within, and then in other things like that. They in like the Death Steps and Light Fingers, Matt, the Drukhari, is that what they call them? Oh, yeah. Okay. Drukhari. Yeah. Some other weird name. But in the other supplements, they have detailed like the gods of the old world. So they did Sigmar and Ulrich and they did Renald and various others, but they haven't completed them. So they haven't done Mor, which is the god of death, and they haven't done Verena, I don't think, she's the goddess of law, and I don't think they've done Shalia either, if I'm mistaken. But anyway, that is something that I was hoping for them to do, is kind of complete that cycle and get all of the old world gods covered and expanded with more material than what's in the core book. But they kind of moved on, I guess, and have started doing all these other, I guess, what other people think is cooler, I suppose. But anyway, we're moving to the new 5th edition here later this year, and it's said that this book is fully compatible with both 4th and 5th edition, so that's good. Matt says, I'm building a Space Elf pirate army. Yes, Space Elf, the Dark Eldar, and I'll know them by none other. So, I was going to say that whenever I got the news of this, I also noticed that Drive-Thru RPG, it's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay's 40th anniversary this year. So this game's been going on a long time. We're in our 4th, about to go to our 5th edition. And in honor of that, Drive-Thru RPG is doing a 40% off sale. So if you're interested in this game, or really any of the Warhammer line of games, I think all of them are 40% off right now. But anyway, if you're interested, jump over to Drive-Thru and check that out. If there's anything that you're missing that you want to pick up, it'd be a good time to do that. So, Matt, are you how many hundreds are you in now, Matt? And you got a dozen guys and about 200 in, something like that. I'm pulling your leg, man. So, okay. So let's talk about Titancraft. We want to go ahead and jump in. I didn't really have a whole lot of news today other than this, but last week we were talking about Tailspire, and that's kind of what led me down this route, because if you remember from our discussions last week talking about Tailspire, I pointed out where you can tie in Heroforge characters that you build, and if you purchase those miniatures, you can port those in as a digital miniature into Tailspire. And it's a cool feature, but the way that Tailspire or the way that Hero Forge's pricing structure works, it is it's a little expensive to do that because you're paying per miniature, and it's it can be like $10 or something like that to purchase the digital version of a miniature. And so it's not really a good path for what I was trying to do with it. And what I was trying to do is what I mentioned earlier is I'm playing 5 parsecs from home. And part of that is you have a crew of 6 people, right? And you're running missions, and it's meant to be a tabletop skirmish mission, but I'm electing to do it all digitally through Tailspire. And so I wanted to find a way where I could create my character miniatures and then bring them into Tailspire. And so I found that when I was researching last week on Tailspire, I found that they now also support this new site called Titancraft. And so it is very similar to Heroforge. You can go in and build your characters online, and you can buy the physical miniature if you want. So if you want them to print it and send it to you, you can do that. Or you can get it as an STL, print it yourself, or just get the digital miniature. And then they also have a token tool if you want to bring a picture of it into like a VTT like Foundry or something like that. But what I noticed about Titancraft that really caught my attention is their pricing structure is completely different. So you don't build a miniature and then buy the miniature each time that you do it. So in other words, with Heroforge, it doesn't matter if you just change one thing on it, you're going to have to buy a different miniature essentially. This version in Titancraft, you buy asset packs, and I'll show you what I mean here. So if you go to their store and look at their digital packs, so they have a bunch of different options here. So first of all, there's a good amount that's free. It's the basic stuff like humans, elves, dwarfs, basic weapons and clothes and things like that. And so they then offer on top of that these asset packs that you can get to theme them. So, and it tells you here that it's 180 assets or 50 assets like in the Dark Order pack. They've got a specific themed one that they did for the Draw Steel game. That's 250. It's not unique to Draw Steel. You can get this stuff and use it for whatever, but they just call it Draw Steel because it's themed for that game. But then they have Western and medieval, sci-fi, modern, sorcerers, steampunk, all that kind of stuff. So all the different themes, and what you do is you buy the asset pack and it's yours forever. And as long as the parts that you put on your miniature, as long as you own them as part of something that you've purchased, then you can reuse them in any combination that you want to create any miniature that you want. And you have it, it's yours from then on. So you can create as many miniatures and export them out as you want. And that is very attractive for what I'm trying to do. So, and that also applies to the STLs too. So if you have, you can create as many combinations of a fighter as you want, as long as you own all the digital assets that make up that miniature. Then you can download those as an STL, as many times as you can make combinations of it. So they have the different themes here. Then they combine everything. Though they also have these bundles here too. So they combine all of the all of the heroes into one big, huge bundle. So it's tons of assets over all the genres and everything. And the same thing that they do for the monsters, because if you go down here below, in addition to characters, you can also build monsters out of here. And it's the same thing. They have different variations, swappable heads, and different. So it's not just the base monster. You can modify these, right? in various ways. So it's a great way, in my opinion, to do if you're doing something like Tailspire, to be able to get all the miniatures that you want. So and then additionally, you're not just guessing either. And what I mean by that is, if you click in, let's go to the medieval here. If you click in here, it will show you what all you're going to get. So you can come down here and you can see all the different types of things that are part of the asset pack. And so, weapons, equipment, armor, different clothing, accessories, gear, all that kind of stuff. So very much like Heroforge. Now, I will say that they don't quite have as much variety yet, but they're releasing things every month. So, there's quite a bit to offer. So yeah, you can click on that. You can take a look at what's in the asset pack. Make sure that it's what you're looking for before you purchase it. And then once you do, it's yours forever, and you can play around with it at that point. Now, just as an example, what I have done already is I purchased the sci-fi and modern asset packs here so that I could create my crew for 5 parsecs. And we'll go in and take a look at that. So, okay. And also, it does mention here that you don't have to subscribe for anything. There is no subscription. Okay, let's jump over to the character creator. Okay, let me change my view here. There we go. Okay, so if you've played around with Heroforge, you're already going to know what I'm kind of going to show you. It's very similar, but you'll add a character. The first thing you'll do is pick what type of base model you're going to start from. So you can pick humanoids here of different kinds: human males, dwarves, females. Anybody have one they want to go with? Jazzy Jazz says, as a person who spent a lot of time on Heroforge, this looks like a place I'll be spending even more hours on. Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same because while there's not quite as many assets yet, the pricing model it totally fits what I'm going for. So again, you can do heroes, you can do creatures, you can look at your own characters, and you can also look at what's been made in the community too. So one of the cool things here is if you find a community miniature that you like, you can grab the miniature and then purchase. If you don't own all the assets that make up that miniature, then you can buy just the assets that you're missing as part of the purchase, right? And then, like everything else on Titancraft, you retain ownership of those parts that you purchased that you can reuse later. So let's just start with just a basic human male. Okay, so first of all, you can do a body, right? So you click on the body tab. This changes these are the different things, different parts of the miniature that you can change. And then you have tabs here to change your head types, and then your body types as well. So for instance, if I wanted to go with a slightly like a little bit different head style, I can do that. So he's got a little bit more chiseled face. Then I can go up and we can look at, I can put different arms on him. So let's say that he has, where is it here? There's zombie arm, right? So it's all cut up and everything. So let's just say that he's got a zombie arm. So I'll click that and we'll click his arm and boom, we've replaced it with the wounded zombie arm there. So we'll say that he's got the blight or something like that. And you can put tentacles on them, tails, wings, all that kind of stuff. So, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So let's put wings on this guy. We'll put like demon wings. Boom, there we go. And then we'll jump over and go back to the head. Let's change his hairstyle. Let's give him a punk rocker look here. And we'll give him a handlebar. You can change his eyebrows, eyes, ear shapes, all that kind of stuff. We'll give him some elf ear looking things. We gave him elf ears. We can put horns on him if we wanted to. We'll put the big, like, legend horns from the movie Legend. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. And let's see here. Clothing. Let's change his clothing up, right? We don't want to give him any headgear. We just got through putting on some cool horns, so let's not do that. He doesn't need a cape. Let's give him some cool shoulder pads. And we'll go down and give him some kind of, there we go. And let's see, sleeves, let's give him something interesting on that. What do we want to do here? There we go. We'll give him some ratty looking sleeves. And give him something better looking for a bottom here. Same kind of style. We'll put that on him. And then he's looking pretty dorky with those shoes, so we got to do something there. Let's just give him foot wraps. How about that? Yeah, that'll work. It's like foot wraps with daggers in them. That's pretty cool. So you can, if you want to pan around here, you just right click and you can pan and then zoom in. And then when you left click and move, you can rotate around. So it's pretty easy to see what you need to see on the character. Then let's give him some gear, right? Let's give him this big nasty sword here. There we go. And let's see. Let's give him something to hold. Heck yeah, let's give him a harp. There we go. So he's got a sword and a harp. He's a demon bard or something. Okay, so then, and there's all kinds of things here. This is your list of different types of items, and the same thing applies on the gear page. You can give them lights and packs and quivers, and you've got everything, by weapons. So if I wanted to come down here, these are some of my packs here. So I could give him like this hunting rifle type thing. So, so this is showing everything here. But one thing that you can do is when let's see, you go to the filter here, and you can change it to where you only look at the assets that you own. So you include free assets and assets that you own. And then you can also filter by other asset packs and hit done. And so that way it's only going to show you things that way, if you don't want to purchase anything, you can just limit it to things that you've already bought. Let's go to his base. We'll put him on like a pebble base. Now you can choose these different base sizes, which reduce the texture. So if I went down here to like the 75 millimeter, you can see that it changes it to a finer texture on that. You can also change the base shape, hexagon, squares, and you can put decor on the base as well. And then next you jump over here to your sizing. And here's where you can change everything about like your arm length, body length, nose size. I mean, there's a billion different ways that you can change, like, hands and finger thickness. And you can go over here to the clothing and change your shoulder item size. So like these shoulder plates we gave him, if we want to make it like, World of Warcraft size, we can do that. And then you can change your base size too if you want. And expression. So they've got several pre-built expressions, which are kind of cool. So like if we want to make him angry, we can. So now he's an angry demon bard. And you can, if you want, if you don't like the presets, you can come down and change all the different expression sliders that you want to like change how much he's squinting and how much his mouth is open or whatever you want to do to customize that. Then you got companions here, which is pretty cool. So you can do. I haven't purchased anything that has like a horse or anything yet, so I don't have that in there. But it does. Part of the modern purchase was a motorcycle, so I can click this, and now he's a demon bard riding a motorcycle. So I mean, how cool is that? So if you don't want something, you just right click on it and you can delete it and it resets it. So that way you can and then you can change a lot of things too by just right clicking it, and then you can do things like detach it or change the pose of it. So let's say that you don't like the way that let's just do the horn there. So you can right click the horn. Come on, there we go. Hit pose. And then I can do things like change the axes, the scale of it. So let's say that I want to change the scale of this horn. So then I can just use the draggers here and I can make this, way outside. So that his left horn is way bigger than the other, right? So then, so see there, it's way bigger. But you can change the way that it's aligned on his head or the size of it and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. Okay, then you can go here and change your character's pose. And they've got a ton of presets here, just like with the facial expressions. So if we click this one, then there. So now he's holding that out to the side and the sword down. And it looks like he's walking. So yeah, you can do that. You can do the wing position too. So if you wanted the wing more up, you just click that. There. So now his wings are in an upward position, a little bit more appropriate, right? Same thing with the hand gestures, the arm positioning, all that kind of stuff. And then they have a new feature here, which is the advanced pose, which allows you to do a whole lot of weird stuff with the pieces and parts, because it's almost like a bone structure, and you can see that when you highlight over different things. And I haven't really dived into that very much because the basic stuff that's out of the box does it just fine for me. And then you've got the environment here, so you can change your background. Like if I wanted to have him like in the clouds or whatever, I could. That's really kind of more important if you're doing like a token snapshot for a VTT or something. And you can also change the lighting here. You can go over here and change your light sources, and you can add light sources and everything else. And then here's the token function. So this allows you to set token rings and everything like that. So you can do like that and change the token ring. And then you can kind of change how it sits within the view. And then you can, download it or whatever, however you want to do it. And then they have a whole painting feature here, which I do like as well. So they have out of the box colors. So, here I'm in, let's say the hair. So they've got things divided up like into hair color, skin color, all that kind of thing. So let's do skin color, and let's give him a reddish tint. So that'll paint kind of all the skinish colors the same. or you can do just a paint by region, and then that way it just paints one specific area. So let's go to natural. Where's natural? Nature. There it is. And then they have a bone here. I thought they had bone. Creature. There's bone. So let's click bone. Boom. There we go. There's some bone textures for us. And so anyway, what I was saying about the colors, they have colors divided up by the kind of things you're doing. So like clothes, metal colors. So for instance, if we wanted to paint the harp stuff, metal color, we can, like that. Or we can do it like polished steel here. Various things. But if you're not happy with the colors as is, you can come down here and you can create a custom color item up here. So you can rename it whatever you want, and you can have the base and highlights and shadows, and you can set the color for all three of those to be, and then make a completely custom color if you want. And that's one thing that I noticed whenever doing my 5 Parsecs crew is they didn't have a lot of like military drab colors so much. So I didn't do it, but I thought about going in here and adding some olive drab and things like that as a custom color, which you can totally do if you want. They also have some cool glow colors too. So if, let's zoom in here. Let's do a energy yellow here. There we go. So now we got it glowing yellow eyes. There we go. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get what I mean. It's a pretty flexible tool to be able to color this how you want. And then, like I said, you can also change the lighting if you're taking a picture of it or whatever. So, you know, that's totally possible. Then they also have a layer section here. So specifically if you're doing like around the eyes and stuff, you can, or around the, you can talk about the, you can click on these layers and only paint certain things on, you just have to experiment with it. I haven't messed with that too much, but I think you get what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's what we just messed with. But now let's, you know, this was an example we did, but now let me show you what I ended up creating for my 5 Parsecs crew. So I'm going to jump down here and go to my characters. And so you'll see I created this guy. So we've got a robot there. I've got a space dwarf. Dwarves in space, yay. I spent a good amount of time on these, but it didn't take as long as that you would think. So the main reason I spent so long is because I was just trying to test everything out, because I knew I was going to do the show tonight and kind of go over this. But let's see. I think this is probably the favorite one, the one that I did. So this is supposed to be like almost like a Necron type character for your crew. So I thought he was pretty cool. I liked him. This chick, Nadia, she's got her double barrel shotgun. This guy I rolled him up. He's like a religious fanatic type person. So that's what I ended up doing for him. I thought that turned out not too bad. And then this is the captain guy. So he's got a what's called a jump belt, which is kind of anti-gravity belt. So I just did that and put a glowing light on it, make it look like it's powered on. So that's kind of what I did, and if there's any questions or anybody wants to see anything in particular, let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to jump over to uh, Tailspire and show you what the characters look like that I created, because I've taken the characters that I made here in Titancraft and moved them over into Tailspire. So let me do that. Pause sharing real quick. And let me fire that up. So while I'm doing that, I'll just say that, I'm not affiliated with Titancraft in any way. So, there's no promotion or anything going on there. I just thought it was pretty cool and worth sharing, especially as an alternative to Heroforge. Their pricing structure is far more attractive to me. Okay. All righty. So this is some ruins that I set up for my first scenario, and I haven't played it yet, but I just thought that I would use this to kind of highlight the characters that I brought in. So let's put them. I guess it's right here in the courtyard. So I'll jump over to the Titancraft menu, and you can see that I've already imported those in. So I'm just going to click that guy and bring him in here. And I'm going to bring each one of them in just so you can kind of see them. And you'll notice that they immediately take on the lighting from whatever you've set up in Tailspire. So they look kind of cartoony in the Titancraft interface, but once you bring them into Tailspire, they kind of really blend in nicely. So if I zoom in here and take a look, you can see that you see the shadows from where the light source is, and their clothes become a lot more muted, and they seem a little bit more natural and suited to what you're doing. And the cool thing that I noticed is that they retained the glow from Titancraft. So the eyes and like the visor here and stuff like that, and even my Space Dwarf's sword, it's not as noticeable. It probably, you know what? Let's do something. Let's reduce the lighting in here and let's see if they glow. That will be an interesting test. So let's go to the atmosphere and let's change it to darkness. Oh yeah, they do actually glow. That's so cool. I didn't know if they would or not, but yeah, when I make it dark in here, the parts that I set to glow in Titancraft actually glow in the game too. That's amazing. That's amazing. I like that. So yeah, and also one thing you'll notice here is uh, Jazz, that looks fantastic. The glowing feature of the minis. Yes, it does. I'm pretty pleased with it. Yeah. So one thing you'll notice is that you lose the base that you create, and I didn't know this when I was creating my characters, or otherwise I wouldn't have cared about the base. But whenever you bring your characters into Tailspire, it strips the base from Titancraft and puts on the Tailspire base, which is fine by me. I'm sure they do that for a sizing issue. See, one thing I noticed is that they made for the dwarf in this robot a tinier base, and I think it has to do with the stance of the miniature. I think that Tailspire assigns a base size based on kind of where the foot stance is. But anyway, that's not too big a deal. It doesn't bother me that much, especially for something like this where I don't really care about moving square to squares. I'm really only care about moving in inches because that's how 5 parsecs plays is you move in inches. So I'm just tickled to death to have found this because I can now create my adversaries in Titancraft and bring them in here and make them look unique too, and I can reuse them from game to game as necessary. And the cool thing is that once you import them in here, you can just spam however many. Like if you've got 6 baddies of the same type, you can use the same miniature if you want. Or if you wanted to create a couple of variations, you could do that too. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited about this and really pleased to see how well the miniatures look once I bring them in. And if you're not into Tailspire, if you're not into digital minis or anything like that, like I said, you can download these as STLs and print them out yourself if you want to do a physical battle. But the more I've gotten in and learned Tailspire, and the more that I've, especially since finding Titancraft, I'm going to be doing a lot of things digitally as far as work, because I have a ton of skirmish games that I would love to play that I just don't find the time to be able to paint all the minis and prepare the terrain and all that kind of stuff to do the tabletop battles anymore. You younger guys, I'm sure that you've got plenty of energy for that, but I run out of juice for that pretty quick these days. So, like I said, there's Stargrave, there's Frostgrave, there's all the Black Site Studio games that I enjoy, like the Hametsu, and there's another one that I recently got called Breacher that's pretty cool. But there's just a ton of skirmish games that would work perfectly in Tailspire that I'm really, frankly, excited to start playing like that. So anyway, that is the presentation for tonight. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you got any questions before I wrap up here, I'd be glad to field it. But otherwise, that's kind of the show for tonight. So, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed kind of this last couple of weeks of showing Tailspire and then diving into this Titancraft as a resource for that. And, if you're playing solo games, it's a great way to be able to get a lot of atmosphere for your solo games through those tools. If you're playing with friends online, it's also a way to do it. That's a little bit different and more engaging, I would say, than a 2D virtual tabletop like Foundry or something like that. So, if you have a group that's kind of big into the visual and miniatures aspect, it's a great way to do it online. So, not seeing any questions, so I'm probably going to wrap it up at this point. Guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show and hope you enjoy what I've been bringing to the table as far as topics. And thanks for coming along the ride with me. And, if you really enjoy it, then I would hope that you would subscribe to my channel and give me a like. If you didn't like it so much, well, at least I thank you for giving me a shot and trying it. So we will see you guys again next week. I hope you have a great week in gaming, and good night.